Good afternoon, everyone. I present your assistant. Our search project is about collection the necessary information to conclude in the woman of the province of La Sabana have suffers some kind of violence. Then I will explain the instrument that we carry out. Instrument of sexual violence against women in the central province of Savannah. The United Nation defines violence against women as any act of gender violence that result or many result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm the woman include three of such acts: coercion or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether in public in or private life. Intimate partner violence reference to partner or ex-partner behavior that cause psychological, sexual, or psychological harm include psychological assault, sexual coercion, psychological abuse, controlling behavior. Sexual violence is any sexual act they attempt to commit a sexual act of the other act direct against the sexuality of a person through the coercion or of another person regret in the relationship with the victim. In any setting, include rape with the definite as the penetration by psychological or other coercion of the vagina or anus with the paint, another part of the body, or an object. Gender violence or violence against women specialization that exercise by their partners in any of its expression is an overhelping related that wins of the lives of many women in the world today is considered a great social problem that tops agendas of the main international human rights and healthy organization, such as the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization, were estimates published by the WHO indicated that around 1.35% women in the world have suffered psychological and or sexual violence by their partner of sexual violence by third parties of some point in their life. Okay, methodology, objective, boil and ballet in the central savannah Kota, Chia, Cajicá, Zipaquirá, and Cogua. Surf that allowed establish a dimension of the emotional and psychological dimension of the violent action, penetration, perpetration against women in central savannah.
First, age. It should be noted as a part of the results that according to the samples that had been raised previously, it was not possible to meet 100% of what was expected. We assume that not yet enough relevance of the topic is taken. Even though it is something purely academic. However, young women are the most interested in this topic. Therefore, it can be seen that more than 50% of the sample is between 20 and 24 years old. This is a positive aspect of survey because one of the objectives was met and was survived to the women of the northern savannah. About 30% belong to Chia, being this municipality with work plans on the care of women. Mm, the majority of the women survived show an academic level above high school, which can give us an idea that the results can become more truthful. In comparison, if the sample is focused on adolescents, science together with the academic level, we can associate the level of determination in terms of the answers obtained by the women to whom the survey is applied. Okay, according to this graph, we can reverse the indicators that usually state that women who are exposed to violence are women who stay at home. Although it is the factor be taken into account through the survey, this indicator is reserved, and it is evident that women students in undergraduate or technical career um, are also part of this countless number of women who are victims of violence. In this graph, um, we can show the expressions of violence. In blue, yes, the response are represent negative before and after violence. And we can stop to review with more caution the indicator in blue about persecution, defamation, psychological abuse, and discrimination. Since these indicators of experience of the woman survived show in the one way or another the fear with which a woman can live where leaving her house. Feeling persecuted represents countless negative thoughts about life itself. Mm, Based in this graphic, the expressions of violence are present to a greater extent by a partner or a stranger, which means that in the areas with these women tend to develop or frequent, they are often perceived as unsafe to a great extent. This means that it is recommended to change these types of the areas to remain safe. Mm, In this scene, the emotions present during an episode of violence are more evident. The negative emotions are those that bring this indication is evaluated. Since it is evident that being violent is not gratifying, and more when the type of aggressors what they usually do is to make the victim feel guilty. This in order to get away well from an episode like this. Manipulation by the aggressor is what causes emotions such as fear, anger, anxiety, insecurity, impotence, among others, to be experienced before an episode like this. On the other hand, most women do not usually feel shame in this type of case, but loneliness in dealing with these situations.
Okay, in this case, more than 80% of those surveyed reported that what happened in an episode of violence. This being a type of drawing in the face of the impotence present in the episode of violence of this type or of actions in the aggressor. Okay, of the other part on this question, we can conclude results of the episode of violence that the woman surveyed have usually more an equanimity that a member of the family. Perhaps because they do um, not feel recriminate and the sense of the person in the family because they do not believe in what is happening. Okay, is response to this question, these results is positive, given that the indicator of digital violence was presented in the 2% of the women. Uh, this indicator of reported is found in the 19%. However, the remaining 10% should be taken into account signs. Failure to report such case may represent an increase in the occurrence of case of violence. Okay. Since the positive response indicator is greater than the negative one, attention should be given to positive case presented, since this type of violent attitude on the part of aggressors. Um, because three case response positive is represented that one problem, since this type of violent attitude of the part of aggressors that's not assume a conditional of physical aggressions, but in the involves prevent the freedom of women from any situation, and such attitudes can be encouraged later and trigger a harmful situation of the victims. On the other hand, the aggressors repeat conduct violence in the most como pursued by electronics means, which is the medium that has greater accessibility of the everyone.
In conclusion, based on the answer we obtained in your survey, it was possible to show that the average age of the women who respond to the survey is between 20 and 24 years old, and the main location in Shia and Cajica. Most the women have undergraduate technical or bachillerato studies, and a small percentage on the half or master degree. Mm, Most of the women are students of employees, a small percentage are working at home or an independent professionals. With respect to the expression of violence that were raised in the survey to that score, the highest are those related to defamation, persecutions, and psychological and physical abuse. The women who respond the survey state that the most of the violence has been received by strangers or relatives, although on some occasions we can see that partners also play an important role of the violence. Regarding the emotions that we raised in the survey, though does score highest with respect to episode experience are sadness, fear, guilty, anger, anxiety, and impotence. And most of the women never filed a claim regarding to the violence suffered. Something that all the girls who responded to survey will see in common is that more that half report that some point in their life their family told them they preferred that she had not been born or threatened to abandon them expelled of the house. How we can see it is still seen in many cases of violence against women in the central Savannah province.